Hi. So I've had a lot of people asking about my 2003 E46 ZHP, so I figured I would give you a little bit of an overview of the car, some of the things I've done to it, and yeah, hopefully show it off. You know, frankly, this has been one of the best cars, if not the best car I've ever owned. It's just it's an incredible driving experience, and it's been a lot of fun to work on as well. So why don't we just start with the outside? So, you know, I've had this car for about 2 years. I bought it at 152,000 miles. It's got about 167,000 miles on it. So putting about 7,500 miles on it every year. It has been a California and Colorado car its whole life. So I believe it was in California from 2003 to 2008. And it's been in 2008 since until today in Colorado. And, you know, like most Rocky Mountain cars, it's got some sandblasting on the front. You'll see some of that along, especially like the bottom of the lip. But, you know, on the whole, the paint is absolutely fantastic. Any sort of blemishes you're going to see are going to be on the front, or maybe it's a few in other places. But, I mean, really, there's very little about this that is indicative of the fact that it's a car with 167,000 miles. I did have some paintless dent repair done on the rear right quarter. I honestly can't remember where it was because the repair is so solid. It does have a scratch that occurred under the original owner's ownership, and that is why I've got a NASA, National Auto Sport Association sticker on that, because it covers up the scratch. I'll just give you some close-ups to give you an indication of the paint quality. And again, it's not perfect everywhere, but it's really, really exceptionally good given the age of the car. You know, I'd given some thought to having the bumper painted and maybe the hood as well, or basically just the leading edges. And I ultimately decided against it. And it's mostly because, you know, this car has been so enjoyable to drive that I want to drive it and, you know, not have to worry about paint chips and stuff. And you know what, it came with a little bit of patina on it, and decided just to leave it there. So the windows are not tinted. It's maybe the only modification I would consider doing it to it. And speaking of which, the modifications are very few and far between. I'll talk a little bit more about those when I get inside the car. But first, let's go ahead and pop the hood, and I'll talk about the engine. And we'll visit the interior later. Oh, and of course, important to note, this car is a slick top, no sunroof, which is desirable for many reasons. One of the reasons I wanted a car like this is because I am tall, and not having a sunroof allows me to fit very, very well. I think I just popped the trunk. You know what? All right, let's take a look at the trunk. So you can see just how incredibly clean this is. This was a European delivery car, so it was picked up in Munich, and I actually have pictures of it the day it was picked up. So it's got the emergency triangle required under German law. I did replace the tire, the spare tire. It was the original when I bought it, and decided, you know what, I'm going to be driving this car. I would like something that's not on 20-year-old rubber, so brand new, or, you know, about a year-old spare tire. You know, I carry oil around with the expectation that I'm gonna have to add it. I never have. The car simply does not burn oil, but I have it there just in case. I did replace the battery cover, just it was slightly crazed under previous ownership, and under that is a brand new Optima battery. And as I describe this, you'll figure out that I'm a bit of OCD when it comes to my cars. So when I went to replace the battery, I found that the vent tube to the battery was missing the elbow. And of course, I had to buy the actual correct BMW elbow to go connect it to that Optima battery. One thing you'll notice here too, so this is the wire that goes to the rear camera. There was an option to run it through this conduit, but honestly, like with all the wires that go through there, decided it was just a safer thing to have it run through outside of that particular conduit. And the rear camera works fantastically. All right. Back to the engine, which is what I wanted to show you. All right. So When I bought the car, it was on its second cooling system. So a thorough replacement by the previous owner. And despite the fact that it was relatively new, it wasn't the original, I was still seeing some leaking on each end of the radiator, on the plastic components. And I decided, you know, while I'm at it, and these cars are known for not having good cooling systems, I'm just going to go ahead and replace everything. So that's exactly what I did. So it has a actually brand new Stewart water pump. It's the second Stewart water pump. The first one was just replaced under the lifetime warranty. And you know, when putting together the upgraded or restored cooling system, I decided to go for OEM parts, or actually I should say original equipment parts. So most of this is original BMW. Occasionally bought from the original supplier, but I wasn't buying anything that was not actually installed in one of these cars by an original supplier. You will notice too that this is an aftermarket valve cover. The original valve cover just had a small crack in the corner. I decided to replace it. I given consideration to just using an original one. In fact, I really typically would prefer that I just use the original stuff over an aftermarket one. But this mid-zone one off of Amazon has been pretty fantastic. This is the second one. The first one I got, I didn't like the finish on it, so I sent it back and I got another one. But it's been awesome. It's worked out just perfectly. So what you can't see there is a Nissan's radiator. Perfect fit. It's been fantastic. Of course, this is a manual car, so it's got the electronic fan. I also replaced, and I'm just going to go through everything here. So I replaced the Vanos, and when I got the car, once in a while, when I say once in a while, I think like twice over the course of a year, I got a check engine code indicative of the exhaust solenoid being stiff, and figured, okay, I probably need a new solenoid. Since the car was on its second Vanos, the previous owner installed a Dr. Vanos unit. I said, what the heck, I'm just going to go ahead and put a new one in. And I put in a brand new Vanos. So this is one that had to be special ordered directly from Germany. Apparently it's got a lot of revisions in it and is superior to the original ones that they came with. And if you know anything about E46s, you know that Vanos can be troubles. But this is a few thousand miles on this brand new Vanos. So while I was doing the work on the replacement of the Vanos, of course, a new valve cover gasket, and really anything that came off that could be replaced, basically there was a piece of plastic or piece of rubber, was replaced in that process. Of course, new valve cover gasket. While I was at it, I also put new coils, new spark plugs in there. There's probably other couple things I'm forgetting, but basically the top of the engine has been thoroughly gone through. This car has also been, as I mentioned, impeccably maintained by the original owner. And in doing so, he used really high quality oil with regular oil changes, and it shows when you look under the valves. I've got pictures of that you can see. A couple of little things too. So, these little nut covers, I originally ordered, I think it was the Vico brand aftermarket ones, and you know what? They just didn't look good, so I returned them and I bought the brand new BMW ones that were quite expensive, but being OCD about it, I wanted to have the right things in there. All right, maybe going over to this side of the engine. So I went ahead and replaced the oil filter housing gasket. And while I was in there, again, if you know anything about E46s, you know that there's a lot of while you're in there stuff. I went ahead and replaced the alternator, the starter, the CCV system, all of the rubber related to the DISA valve, the throttle body. I removed and cleaned the idle control valve. Can't remember if I told you I replaced the starter, but I replaced the starter while I was in there as well. And buttoned it all back up, and of course torqued everything to exact spec. Thank goodness for 50s Kid and the Bentley manual. It's really easy to find out how to work on this car, and frankly, it's one of the reasons it runs as well as it does. I also replaced the entire engine harness, and I didn't need to. Everything was fine, but some of the like you can see that basically the plastic sheathing that covers some of the thinner wires that go to the centers in the oil filter housing block. Some of the plastic covers were cracked in a few places, and I said, you know what, again, 20-year-old plastic, let's go ahead and replace it. So completely new engine harness, up to and including the part that goes into the box. It does have a German Auto Solutions expansion tank cover. Probably overkill, not sure it does all that much, but it's one of the few modifications I've made to it. And the car does not leak coolant. It's been, you know, bled a couple times since I last serviced the cooling system. That's maybe why you see like a splatter here and there, but yeah, it works exactly as designed. While we're in this area too, so these are brand new headlights, and not just lenses or bulbs, these are brand new headlights. So original equipment, it was what, Magneti Marelli, I think is the brand. Originally what I had intended to do is just replace the basically, you know, some of the rubber that needed to be replaced, the lenses themselves, the bulbs and stuff, and ultimately decided I just wanted, you know, brand new system. So I did that, and largely again it's because of the original was just as old as it was, and the wires started to get pretty brittle. Didn't want to worry about those cracking on me, so that's all new. There is a crack in the grill. I have a new grill, I just haven't put it on yet. It does require removing the bumper and just hasn't been a priority recently. The car has been serviced on time, on schedule, across its entire lifetime. When I got the car, the only thing it needed was a brake fluid flush, so I did that, and I actually did it again after messing with some of the brakes and installing new brake pads and new rotors. But like I say, the car has been serviced on time. This is an original E46 M3 strut brace. There is some like pitting of the, I'm assuming it's either paint or powder coat on there, touched up with a little bit of permanent marker. But on the whole, I was just planning on repainting that eventually. It just hasn't been a priority. There's not much else to know about this. Well, actually, so it's got all brand new belts. These are Continental belts. It also has new pulleys and new tensioners. The pulleys are actually Miley. They're a little bit more robust than the original equipment, which is INA. The one goofy thing about the Miley ones is that the cap for that particular tensioner does not stay on. So it's just, you know, the nature of that particular unit. But you know, with as often as it is to switch out a pulley and something on this, I figured just I'd rather have the more robust one than the original equipment INA. And it's been like a bit of my philosophy around this is let's go ahead and make upgrades to things that are better than original, if not using the original. So it's had Castrol European Formula 5W40 for its lifetime. I did use an original, or I should say its entire lifetime, because it was originally a leased car that I originally had before he bought it out from him. So it does, it probably used, you know, whatever BMW oil it had when it was leased, but then the previous owner used the Castrol 5W40 the rest of the time. And really, when you look at the under the valve cover, it's just amazing how clean this thing is. While I'm outside, the original wheels, the Style 135s, and those are new rotors and new brake pads, new retention clips, etc. And, you know, really wanted to go with something that was, you know, happy for a daily driver. And it's got, I think that they are ATE rotors with Akibono pads. I can double check that, but I'm like 95% sure that's the case. Sorry for the wind, it might be a little windy here. Let's go inside and talk about the interior. So with the exception of the A-pillars, this is the original interior. So this is the Alcantara, all right, so you can see basically the condition of it is frankly excellent for being a 20-year-old car. Actually, it's almost 21 years old now. There's a little bit of the creasing that you see on the outer bolster on the driver's side, and you see a little bit also on the passenger side. But I mean, the condition of this is absolutely fantastic. This part looks brand spanking new, and the Alcantara part looks really very close to that. Original shift boot, excellent condition. Original, or I should say the brake boot, original, and the shift boot, they're both original. That is a new but OE BMW or genuine ZHP shift knob. Let's go take a look at the back. Let's give you another sign of the condition of this interior. And of course, with Alcantara, you can, change the grain of it, but you'll see this is really just in fantastic shape. Because I am OCD, one of these ISOFIX covers was missing, so I bought a brand new one. I also did replace the center console and the ashtray. Not the top, but the rest of it. It was just worn out after being used for as long as it had. And there's a little these aren't even scuffs, like there's dirt and stuff that for my kid getting in and out of the car. But like I say, on the whole, it's exceptionally clean and in great condition. I did not clean the interior for this video, so you see a couple specks here and there. That's why. All right. As you can see, Alcantara headliner, no sunroof. All right, let's talk about a couple things on the inside. So I did mention I replaced the console here. So that was 1, 2, 3, and I believe this part as well. It has a black cube trim, and you can see it's in great shape. There's a couple of spots, if you really look, where you can see it's not quite perfect. You really have to look. Closest to get rid of the wind. That tiny some scratches, right? But pretty darn close to perfect. I did replace the A-pillars, as I mentioned, so we started to have some separation of the Alcantara from the A-pillar cover itself. I looked at recovering it, and frankly, it was just going to be easier to replace it, so that's what I did. So replace these as well as the cover for the access to it. Did that on both sides. So that's obviously not factory. So that is a Dynavan N7 Pro head unit with CarPlay capability. And really it's because I intended to drive the car, and I really wanted to make sure that it was going to do the things I wanted to do. I want to be able to navigate, I want to be able to listen to music, and that's been really a fantastic unit. Very, very happy with it. So the steering wheel. So this is the original steering wheel, but recovered by Kobe wheels. So this is not a core, for what it's worth. I just wanted to keep the original part with the car, so I just sent that to them and had Kobe recover it in the original color. The only deviation between what he does at Kobe and original from the factory is that with the Kobe wheel, it's got some of the stitching on the outside. I should say on the inside, but it is exposed. On the original cars, that stitching is not exposed. For what it's worth, I actually love the grip that it provides. Another thing worth noting is all of the controls for the radio work. So this connects to the Dynavan unit perfectly. Like everything you'd expect to do in a brand new car works exactly as it should in this 30-year-old car. This is a Redline phone mount. If a future owner decides to take it out, it's very easy. You just remove these pieces, you just pull them out, and then screw that in, put it back on. But it's been pretty fantastic. And I've connected that to the head unit for wired CarPlay, just like a short cable that goes from here to there. That's typically what I've been using, but I just got a new iPhone that now is USB-C, so I have to buy a new cable. These are WeatherTech floor mats. I do live in Colorado, but I really don't drive the car in the winter, so maybe it's a bit moot that I have them, but figured I'd keep any minimize the amount of dust and dirt that goes into the car. When I did get the car, one of the things I did was to use a Bissell wet vac on all of the fabric surfaces, and it's amazing how well that just took out 20 years worth of crud. Like I said, you wouldn't even notice it, but when you start using the Bissell wet, you see the dirt and gunk coming out of it, and I just basically did it until the water ran clean. And nice thing about that is it doesn't do any damage. You're not pushing dirt deeper into the fabric. All right, so let's go ahead and start the car. As you can see, It's telling me my inspection. There we go, 167,118 miles. You also notice that I need a new bulb in the front right, so I'm going to go and replace that. That's gone. You know, I got a little warning light saying the front right bulb needed to be replaced, and I just did the front left, and sure enough, the front right failed at the same time. Probably not a coincidence.
Low battery.
All right. That was just my radar detector talking. So, as you can see, it idles perfect. No check engine lights. I have an Autel scanner that I've been using just to keep abreast of the health of the car, and it's working great. One other thing I've done to this recently is use a cable to update the DME. So it's got the very latest ZHP specific software in the DME. I can't remember exactly when those released. I want to say it was 2011. You know, the original cars, the 2003 cars like this one, had a torque dip and really in the middle of the torque curve. And back then you had to take the DME out, you had to mail it to New Jersey, and they would reflash it and send it back. And that's exactly what the original owner did. In fact, he had the car dynoed before and after, and you can see the difference. Yeah, this car has been owned, me being OCD about my cars, as well as the previous owner who was OCD about his cars. I just updated that to the very latest. Didn't notice any differences. I'm sure it does something, but say this is BMW's finest, latest, greatest software for this. So, as mentioned, I'm going to go and replace the bulb in the right front blinker. Once in a while that would come on, and then as soon as I turn the blinker on, it would go away. Just needs another bulb. The left one is doing it as well. The new bulb fixed it. I'm trying to think what else to know. So this car does have the Harman Kardon system. All the speakers work great. Nothing's blown. I considered a BAV Auto speaker upgrade, but honestly, this is loud and as good as it needs to be. Just gonna kind of flip through things so you can see. It's not immaculately clean, but the condition is genuinely fantastic. Why don't I let you see? Oh, I'm not going to do it because I'm using my phone to video this. But basically, the CarPlay looks exactly like what CarPlay looks like. No surprises there. The default screen is rather cheesy, as you can see, but you know, it works fine. But I'm always in CarPlay mode. One cool thing about this unit is it's actually reading off of the USB-C. So I've got the coolant temperature there. Sorry, not USB-C. It's reading off the OBD2. So I've got coolant temperature there. I've got ambient temperature there. Both work just fine. And this was super useful when I did the refurbishment of the cooling system. It just allowed me to make sure that I'm not seeing any overtemps, and give me an indication too as to when I needed to bleed the system. If you've worked in these at all, you know that bleeding the system requires a couple of iterations, and these things just push in. There's these little retention clips on the back that hold it in place. But it was to put the system in, basically to take that out. Of course, get behind it. It did relocate the HVAC controls. They were here with the business CD, I think is the name of the original radio, and there was an ashtray in there which is now all gone in the setup. The cable, actually, let's show you that. There's my reverse camera. Oh, I've got the I've got the trunk up, so you're looking at the sky, but that's the reverse camera. Works fantastic. In fact, here, let me just go ahead and close that. All right, let's try that again. There you go. So I mentioned only making a few modifications to this car. So one of them is an auto solution shifter. So this is the E46 shifter by Auto Solutions. It is fantastic. I mean, it's honestly as good as I think any shifter you're going to find in a BMW anywhere. It is notchy, right? But in a good way. Everything slots in perfectly, and my favorite shift is the second to third. It just, I know it's cliche to say it feels like a rifle bolt, but it really feels like a rifle bolt. It's pretty awesome. The windows work. The window regulators are all new. They have not been replaced because I've had zero problems with them, and probably because the car has been garaged its entire life. A lot of the plastic's just in far better condition than it would have been otherwise. All right, let's go take a look at the engine. I'll talk a little bit more about some of the things I've done to it. Oh, and before we do, so that is a garagistic billet clutch pedal. The reason I went with that is because the original clutch pedal was plastic, and you feel a lot of play in it. And really, I wanted the driving experience to be as good as it possibly can. So anything your body touches has been either upgraded or refurbished. So this particular metal clutch pedal, I mean, there's no deflection in an undesired direction. It's just tight as can be. I also put bronze bearings into the brake pedal, and again, just to take up some of that slop. And there's just no slop in there. Oh, I did replace this piece. It was like this particular part was not attached. It was broken on the original one. Put it back in there, and yeah, it's frankly it's not a great design by BMW, but you know, it holds now. So you probably can't hear how well the engine's running, just through the compression artifacts and like it's running or not, and just hard to noise. Okay, well, while I'm here, I'll talk about a couple of the things that I did just in working on this car. So it's got new engine mounts, the Portico OE mounts, transmission mounts as well. It's got a new Evo flex wheel. And honestly, the condition of the original ones was not bad. It's more like when the log was in there messing with stuff like the shifter, the silent shifter, which requires you to lower the transmission of it. Just put it back together. It's good. Give you a view from the other side of the interior. I did replace this piece as well, mostly because I had to run the cable for the rearview camera under there, and pulling it out, it just broke the tabs and broke this piece, so that's a new piece as well. Just wasn't contented to have it broken underneath, even if I couldn't see it. Sport seats, electric sliders, and recline all work perfectly. I did was replace the cowling. So the car, when I bought it, the cowling was showing a little bit of wear. There's a place where there's a bit of crack, so I just replaced that as well. And as usual, in my 2 years of ownership, I'm going to replace everything on schedule. So the cabin air filter, plus the engine air filter, that's new. I did put a new mass airflow sensor in it, and this is original equipment as well. The original was working fine. I did it frankly because there was a deal, an FCP Euro, on one that was significantly discounted. I said, I have this replaces and evaluating it. Another thing I did when working on the car and basically all that while you're into their stuff was to replace any of these hoses with silicone hoses. So you know, you should really never have a vacuum leak in this car again. The upper and lower intake boots are also new. I'm sure there's some things I'm forgetting, but I probably covered most of it. See a little bit of wear on on here, just from resting an elbow on it. It's so minor though that I decided not to worry about it. Just leave it as is. All right, let me show you a couple of other things, and we're gonna go inside to do that. So my goal with this car is really just to keep it up to the point where it continues to be an amazing car to drive and get ahead of a lot of the maintenance issues that were common with E46s. And at this point, I think I already have. Just while I'm here, this is my Porsche 911 Carrera T that is about to get some brake work done to it. You may recognize that. That is a complete subframe for an E46, brand new. My goal was to replace the suspension and the bushings related to the suspension. And it decided it was going to be easier for me to be able to get just a new original equipment, genuine BMW unit, and remove stuff and then bolt the new stuff onto it with all the new parts. And speaking of new parts, what I have here are shocks, front and rear. And what you can't see in there, in that big FCP Euro box, is every other bushing required for the front and rear suspension. And they've got ZHP front control arms as well. The bushings that I got to put in are the Miley HD. The previous owner had a lot of luck with them, and I decided to just keep with that. They're a little bit tighter than, a little bit more, I'd say, stiff than the originals. But that's the point, you know. I wasn't trying to rebuild an M3. Definitely don't want to go poly or solid mounts. This car is meant to be a daily driver and enjoyed comfortably. Hence the reason, just turning it up a notch by putting the Miley HD stuff into it. The black trim around there, it's something that eventually I'm going to want to. There's one piece that needs to be replaced just because of a scratch in the back, but what I want to do is take that stuff off, use some Aerospace 303 on it just to get that black color back. So this is the piece that just has a scratch on it. That scratch was caused by apparently the wife of the previous owner. She parked in the garage and closed the garage door when the car wasn't fully in, so I got that scratch, and then the one I've hidden under my bumper sticker. Just a little scratch there too. Stock exhaust hangers. I had the exhaust off when I was doing some of the work on the transmission. Little scratch. That's a chip. When I was doing the transmission work, I had the exhaust off, and the exhaust hangers were perfectly pliable, so I didn't bother replacing them. So you can get a pretty good indication of the condition of the car. I'm just going to go around and highlight a couple of things. As I mentioned, we've got some of the sandblasting on the front, a little bit on the front of the hood as well. These are ECS tuning grills. I've got the original grills as well, the chrome ones. I'm sure the ECS tuning aren't even made by ECS. They're just, I don't know, eBay or Wish.com versions. Bit of a paint chip there on the leading edge of the fender, a little bit around here, a little bit around there. Again, things that, unless you're going for a concourse restoration, and I'm not sure anyone's doing with these cars, stuff I just wanted to leave it as is, or you know, maybe even just touch up to make it a little bit less noticeable, but they're so barely noticeable at all. The car's been through a couple of windshields, no surprise. In fact, I had it for about a day before I cracked the windshield. So I think this windshield's been with me for about 2 years now. Yeah, a little bit of pitting on it. It's, you know, no major cracks or chips though. These are Pilot Sport All Season 4s. These tires are fantastic. And the reason I wanted to go with these is, you know, sure, I could have like Pilot Sport 4S or something a little bit more aggressive on it, but you know, that's more tire than this car was ever engineered for. And the nice thing about the All Seasons is, in addition to being able to use them in the wet, they actually allow a bit more playfulness of the rear engine, or the front engine rear drive. You get the car to be able to rotate it. If you really want to get to step out, you know, you can do that. Might be which peeled. More than slightly annoyed about that. That was. Just had the car go through the emissions testing. I had to do that for its second year registration, which I just got done yesterday. And yep, passed flying colors, no issue. Do have a little bit of a scratch there, a little bit of scratch there. I did have the paint corrected shortly after I bought it, and the guy used is really meticulous about not overdoing it. You want to leave, of course, clear coat for the protection of the color coat. So anything that required removing, too much of the clear coat, just had him leave it be. Chances are you could probably buff that out further. I just wasn't going for that concourse restoration. Yeah, got like a little bit of a paint chip there. A little bit of a. Again, those will probably buff out. I can't help but look at this and think about the BMWs of today and just wonder what the heck they're doing. The E46 is just such a stunning car, and it sure doesn't seem like they have continued in the same vein of beauty, let alone being the ultimate driving machine. But really, that's what this is. This is I've owned many fantastic cars, and I don't think I've had a better daily driver than this one. It's just wonderful. Trying to jog my memory to see if there's anything else that people need to know about it. I don't think so. So I have done all of the work to this car myself. I am a mechanical engineer by education. Actually started my career as a mechanical engineer for NASA. I frankly trust myself with the tools better than most shops, and as a result, I was pretty OCD about any of the work that I did to it, including like creating procedures around how to do the oil filter housing gasket, how to do the Vanos. In fact, I'll share those procedures with you. They're complete with steps, the order, things to look out for, torque specs, all that kind of stuff. Look at that. No sunroof. Let's see if I can't give you a peek underneath. I have no idea if this is going to work very well. Let's try it. This car has no rust, like no rust, no corrosion. When you look at the exhaust system, in the first place, you're going to see some surface rust on the car. It's just not there. Super, super clean underneath. Never been in an accident. I've had that member off a couple of times doing work on it. That is the antenna for the head unit if you wanted to use the built-in navigation. I do live in Colorado, and in the mountains we often don't have a signal, so it did come in handy for that kind of stuff. I'd imagine most people wouldn't really need that though, but it all works. Oh, the one other thing, it's one of the things I haven't gotten around to doing to the car. I don't like how that mirror shows that, I don't even know what that is, on the outside, so my plan is eventually just to replace that mirror. It's easy, just pops out, pops in. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you have any questions.